Okay, so welcome back to the Right to Bear Farms podcast. Um, we're going to today talk about the reasons to live in Romania because people go, oh, why would you live in Romania? Why on earth would you move to Romania? Well, what we've done, and me and my friend here have decided to, we don't know each other's lists, but we've just said we'll list as many reasons and go through them quick fire. And I'm going to start because it's my podcast. That's our podcast really, but I'm going to start anyway with the obvious one, which is there's lots of small scale farming in Romania. So if you want to move to Romania and live off the grid and grow your own food, it's a very, very good place to do it because probably half the population are already doing it, right?
Well, not half, but by the way, hi everyone. So yeah, I also had this on my list, and another one that I wanted to basically sustain what you said. So not only that we have small-scale farming, but there's something else also. The agricultural land is really clean. So compared to other countries or to the low plains, the land in the foothills of Carpathians basically hasn't seen any pesticides or herbicides or stuff like that, right? Or
Yes, right.
chemical fertilizers. So that land is
Yes.
clean.
Okay, so yeah, that's an interesting thing because I've spoken to some beekeepers here, when we were talking about honey. So how the natural honey when they're growing it right in the woods, they don't have any kind of issue with contaminants from the bees feeding off contaminated areas.
If you buy honey from commerce, polyflor is called in Romania, so it's a mix of all the flowers, right? 800 milliliter jar will have about 1 kilo. If you grow bees on yourself and collect their honey, it will have 1.3 kilos. So it's also a big difference in density of the honey that they produce.
I think the supermarket honey is blended and mixed
Yes,
with other
exactly.
things and sugar and
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
and watered down. Yeah. Anyway, right. Okay. So next thing is significant cash economy for food. So whereas in the West, I now have to produce my pay with a card. I can't pay with cash in many places. In some places, you have to show your QR code or whatever. I think that's happening in China. I think they started to do that in some
Yeah,
supermarkets in London. Here, I can go and still buy fresh vegetables from some dude on the side of the road,
exactly.
where for cash. Very nice. Your turn.
My turn. Well, going back to land. So really cheap land and houses in this, well, almost abandoned villages. You know, really cheap. So that's a plus.
Say how cheap is cheap?
For example, right now, I would buy a garden, an orchard of 2,000 square meters, which is buildable land with 2,500 euros, right? But mostly
That's
you
very
can,
nice.
yeah, you can buy a house and with I don't know, a couple of thousand square meters around it for 10, 15 grand. In
Okay.
apartment.
Well, cool. Anybody watching wants to buy some land or a house or something, contact us in the comments and I'll put you in touch. Okay. My turn. Very fast internet. Everywhere has crazy fast internet, which which is hilarious. I find like I talk to my friends in England who are like on some industrial estate in London, and I live in the sticks in the middle of nowhere. All that's around here really is lots of trees and a few houses, and I have like 300-400 meg on fibre. Very nice. I've got web TV and everything that comes across the internet. So yeah, that's a very cool thing in Romania. My theory
And
about why that is because they've stuck all the cables above ground. They don't have too much regulation about planning cables, so it's very cheap to do it. Anyway, your turn.
uh, yeah, I just want to jump in again on that one. And cheap internet. So, for example,
Oh yeah, super cheap.
yeah, my package is a gigabit basically, so 1,000 meg of download and TV and what else do I have on that? Anyway, it's £10 or something like that.
Sorry, how much?
£10.
Oh, so like
Internet plus TV.
$10-15, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, with internet and TV. Yeah, same here.
Yeah, really cheap. So
Okay,
my
your turn.
yeah, nature. I'm gonna keep with this one for a moment. Well, if you love nature, you get plenty of it. It's wild, mostly clean, so that could be a plus for anyone who likes, you know, getting away from the cities and you know, just live peacefully.
I tell you, I can add to that. Being a Brit, I tell you what, I was stunned by when I moved here was the accessibility. There's so many places you can go that are truly wild. Like, you know, if you hang around too long, you'll get eaten by a bear, kind of
Exactly.
wild, and like properly wild. And you can just go on them. You know, in England, it's such a small country with such a huge population for the land area, and everything's owned privately, so you just can't wander around anywhere. I mean, there's just a certain wildness here, which is a very cool thing, and I found very refreshing and very nice. So it's my turn, is it?
Yep.
Right. I heard this term the other day, which is brilliant. The Alphabet Mafia, right? So you don't have the Alphabet Mafia issue here, which is the LGBTQists, yeah, right?
Yeah.
So I love that term now. That's what I'm calling them. So luckily, well, so far I saw they're trying to push this stuff here, but because you've still got fairly strong religious roots here, I think it's just falling flat on its face from what I can work out. It certainly is in the countryside. I mean, most people aren't aware of it. You know, they just don't know what you're talking about when you say, oh, you know, did you know boys can be girls now? They just look at you like, you know, lay off the sweeter, pal.
Yeah, exactly. You've described it perfectly.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, your
So
turn.
Yeah, something related, basically almost the same thing on my list. Low wokeness level, if you can.
Yes.
Yeah, so no one,
Almost
no one cares about that.
No, they don't even, you know, it doesn't even register, does it? It's,
No, I
it's
mean,
like, you know,
except
what are you
people,
talking?
except people from corporations, you know, no one even knows what that is. You know.
I reckon there's probably a few people in Cluj, to be honest, that probably think a bit like that. Cluj looks like it's going a little bit multicultural.
Well, there are some hipsters. I mean, when you have 30,000 people working in IT for international corporations.
What do you say? There's some hipsters.
Yeah, there are a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them. Not compared to the population, because the metro area has almost 1 million people, right? So a couple of thousand
that's
that really
mad.
don't matter. But yeah, you can see some
That's amazing.
lumberjacks with, you know, no hair on their legs and stuff like that, long beards, and basically. Anyway.
Yes, I understand what hipsters are. I am quite culturally educated. Right, whose go was it? I can't remember whose go it was
Your
now.
turn, I think. Anyway, shoot.
Okay, here's a good one. Relatively relaxed building rules, right?
Yep.
So if you want to build a house so basically if you move out in the sticks somewhere, like somewhere remote, and you just buy an old house and tidy it up, no one's going to give a shit,
No.
right? You can just do that kind of thing simply.
Yeah, no.
Whereas if you want to renovate a house in England, you'd have to get planning permission for that, right? So you're trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I think that's true anyway. I think pretty much anything you want to do to a house in England, you need to get permission for. Although I might be wrong, so I'll, you know, anybody wants to correct me on that from England. I'm a little bit out of touch, having not lived there 20 years. So do please correct me in the comments. But that's very cool. The fact that you could come here probably with 20 grand and get up and running in something livable. You know,
Yeah, I mean, here,
I would think.
here no one cares. I mean, if you don't demolish it totally, you know, or something like that, you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
renovate, do whatever.
Yeah, so I can tell you that, and I kind of understand this because they're places of natural beauty that have been preserved in their state for hundreds of years. But in some places in England, you're controlled as to what paint colour you can use and stuff like this. But that said, those places are like the whole villages are like a historical monument, so I kind of understand it. But the good thing about Romania is there's places where you can go where you can just buy something remote and get up and running, like I said, very cheaply and with fast internet. So you can have very basic house, not much money, not much food, but lightning quick internet, and you'll still probably be okay because you'll make some friends locally. They'll come around and have a drink with you.
Okay, so my turn now, right?
Your turn.
Yeah, so related to this one about lax regulations, basically. This was on my list, right? So we have kind of laws that the EU imposed, but no one really cares to apply them, right? So, for example, a shocker for Westerners, you can brew your own alcohol here, you know?
Oh, yes.
And EU tried to impose a limit, but that didn't work. So
yeah, someone told me the other day that they actually tried to do this in one of the villages, and it was like a scene out of that movie Lawless. You know,
something like
have
that.
you seen that movie?
Yes.
That's a movie about what do they call it?
Moonshine. In
Moonshine,
US,
yeah,
in
Moonshine.
Time, yeah.
And apparently there was something of a local rebellion, and all the inspectors buggered off and didn't come back.
Exactly.
Which I thought was superb. Yeah, I like that kind of thing. Okay. Okay, the weather. The weather. What I like about Romania is that you always have 4 proper seasons here. You know, and it's nice and dry. It gets very hot in the summer, cold in the winter, but it's cold and sunny and dry, right? So overall, I'm going to say this because I'm English, but overall the weather is about 10 times better than living in England. But to be honest, the weather in England's terrible. I could tolerate the weather in England. It's just I couldn't tolerate the wokeness, and I now realise that it was the wokeness, the early indications of wokeness, which are one of the reasons I left. But I didn't know what it was at the time. Now I do. Anyway, I'm changing the subject.
Yeah,
it's
back
your
then
turn.
it didn't have a name. Yeah, so with the weather, I
No.
mean, it's nice. You have proper 4 seasons, and it depends on which area of the country you live. So, for example, in Transylvania, it's a little bit more wet, right? In the from autumn till June, July, because we have mainly North Atlantic influence, right? So you get much more precipitations, right? Much more rain. But it's not like in England, definitely. I've been there. It's not like that. I mean, right? You get a short rain per day.
That's my subject.
Yeah.
Your one. It's
Okay,
your go.
my
That
one.
was my one.
For someone who has a skill in Romania, it's a huge deficit of skilled workers. So, I mean, here, if you're like electrician, carpenter, whatever, you know, technical thing that
Yes.
you have.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, and I'm going to butt in there because that's an important thing. Part of the purpose of this podcast is anybody who wants to come and move out here who's got a skill exactly like that. If they're an electrician or a plumber or a builder or something like that, you're not going to get the rates you'll get in the West, but you'll get surprisingly good rates because you're going to deliver a lot more for the money than the local builders. The local builders are basically what's left here that hasn't left for the West. Do tell me if I'm wrong.
No,
right?
you're not.
Do tell me if
You're
I'm being
not.
unfair, but that's how I've perceived it. So if you got building skills and come out here, I mean, me personally, this little community I'm building here with the cabins and that, if someone's got building skills and they want to come and join me, I'm ready to go. You know, I'm looking for people like that. Anyway, my go, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is gonna come out. This is a side ball. What I called hybrid baked beans, right? So in England we have Heinz baked beans, you know, in the little can,
Yeah.
and they're a very popular brand. People put beans on toast and whatever, and I always thought in my early years, I just thought beans came out of a can, right? I mean, I realise they come from a field, but I associate these baked beans with tomato sauce, like a orangey kind of red sauce they come with in a can. And you guys, well, I don't know, my girlfriend does anyway, she makes these by getting the beans and soaking them in water, letting them expand, putting all this sauce in, and they taste really good. And and you can pretty much apply that to all the food in Romania. So like when I what's shocking is when I got some baked beans from a can not so long ago because I just sort of fancied some, and I looked at them and then compared them with what was cooked, cooked naturally here, and I thought, how on earth was I ever eating that stuff and thinking it was actually food, And I hope other people are coming to that kind of realization. We've all been conned with food, completely conned. We've been told the opposite of the truth, I reckon, on just about everything.
Yeah, so
Anyway, your turn.
yeah, I have this point on my list. So basically, I just wrote good food. What good food means for me is you still have access to a lot of product that it's homegrown and tastes totally different compared to the crap they sell in supermarkets mostly, right? So
Yes.
if you cook your own food, it's amazing, right? You have a lot of
Yes.
good products for that. Okay, my
On that, 1 second, on that subject of food, I'm just going to butt in when I've got something on a pitch here. Anybody who wants to come and farm cows out here for meat, get in touch with me, please, because I'm working on someone else with a project. I'm super interested in that. So anybody wanting, why are you laughing? It's not funny.
no, it's normal because
Anybody wanting to,
yeah, we don't yet.
anybody wanting to, sorry?
We don't have yet in Romania a gas counter on the cow's butts, so it's okay. You can come here and
Yeah,
raise cows.
yeah. So sorry, let me. Anybody trying to escape the massive cow cull in Ireland, the proposed cow cull in Ireland, if you can jump on a boat and come over here with your cows, we'll save you and your cows. Anyway, no, seriously, if anybody wants to come out here and farm cows for meat, I'm super interested. I've got land to do it on, and other people interested. So if you fancy that, make contact in the comments, please. Was it your turn or my turn? I keep forgetting.
I don't know, but okay, my turn because you spoke for a long time. So okay, safety,
Fair enough.
safety. That's one.
Sorry?
Safety. My topic.
Oh, I've got that one as well.
I know.
No worries. Off you go.
Yeah, because compared, I've been through my job. I've been through most of Europe, and believe me when I'm telling you, hell, Romania is a lot more safe than most of Europe, in my opinion. I mean, for
Yes.
both you and your family.
Yeah, I mean, you can go in a major city here and still see single girls wandering around late at night without a worry. You don't see that anywhere in the West, nor should you. And there's in London, you've got a significant issue with knife crime. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to talk about the real reason. The real reason is very, very obvious, but that's non-existent here. I mean, it's not like people don't get stabbed, but it's people stabbing one of their relatives or something like that. It's not, you don't have this kind of random, hyper-violent knife crime just because they're criminals trying to rob people, mug people, raise havoc. All that just doesn't exist in the cities. I don't think even at football matches you get a great deal of violence, do you?
No.
I mean,
Sometimes
it's rare, and when
sometimes idiots fight, but
yes, but
nothing
then they
do.
just mob the whole place with the gendarmes and stop it.
Exactly.
Whereas you've got in London, you've got if someone attacks you and you beat them up and hurt them or kill them, you're likely to be the one going to jail. They've made it basically illegal to defend yourself in England. It's cuckoo
It's not this case in
cuckoo
Romania.
land,
You can
clown world.
No, in Romania you can defend yourself, no issues.
Yes, that's very good. Right, my one. Okay, I think, and feel free to disagree with this, but I think the court system here actually works pretty well. It's a bit slow, but I've been to court a few times on a few different things, and I've always ended up getting good outcomes, including getting custody of my children from my ex-Romanian wife. Given I'm a Brit and she's a woman, that's really unheard of, even for Romanians, right? But it was an exceptional situation, and I felt that the lawyer, who was very sweet, and the court were very reasonable and rational and asked all the right questions. So I kind of think that when people talk about the courts being corrupt here, they're only thinking about political stuff. I think because you have civil law, not common law, you can pretty much, whatever you write in the agreement has to be stuck to, and the court, all they're going to do is decide whether you've stuck to the agreement or not, in simple terms. And that system seems to work well. I mean, I've seen things with people who've who've sold land with dodgy documents, for example. I mean, they had the land, but the documents weren't done quite right. They got the money. They tried to pull out the deal so they could have the land and the money, and the court just said, "No, don't be silly. You got the money. Bugger off." So I've seen quite a few things like that. So I'd be curious to hear your opinion on that one, actually. But my opinion is, despite all the talk of corruption, the civil courts seem fine. And when I've seen people go through the courts for something violent or criminal, they seem to get reasonable sentences.
Yes.
But I don't know if you have a different opinion.
Well, it depends. So there's a corrupt part of the system, but I think that implies mostly the politicians and some of their friends. But normally, yeah, a good example like you gave, for example, I have a friend that also had a court battle for custody, and because the court found out that his ex-wife allegations were false, the court decided that so basically she didn't want to allow him any custody, right? So the court said that either she agrees without any comment with shared custody, or they will offer the custody only to the husband. So it was that clear. I mean, the judge was a woman, and was almost arrested her for lying in court.
That interestingly, my lawyer was a woman, and like I said, she was very sweet, and she actually told me to be much harsher than I was. Like, women really don't like women who don't play fair in when they've got everything they need and in a decent marriage.
Yeah.
She was kind of pissed. So, but she was very sweet.
Yes.
And I should have listened to her advice much earlier on and not tried to make it work, because she told me that when I met her. She said, "Don't bother trying to make it work. Just finish it now." I said, "No. I want my kids. I want to try and make it work."
So
Anyway,
on the court subject, in my opinion, it's mixed a little bit. So there are cases, with politicians and stuff that you see on the news, but mostly it's okay. So it's kind of in the middle, Yeah. I mean, for civil law, for normal issues that you have, you won't have any problem. I mean, it will be okay.
Your turn.
Okay. One thing that I really like is the freedom of speech. So
Very good.
You can basically say anything about anyone.
I've got to say, I'm testing this recently. I've been saying a lot of stuff online and on social media that I know I wouldn't get away with in England, mainly about our politicians in England.
Yeah.
And no one's come to knock at my door yet, so I can vouch for that.
No one will. I mean, in Romania, unless you are, I don't know, actually bringing some damage to a person, I mean, but for example, in Romania, someone on the left side who will try to cancel you, right? That guy will get in trouble. So if you say...
That's very good.
Yeah, I mean, if that guy comes to cancel you, comes after your job or your company or your whatever, that guy will definitely get in trouble. Not you. I mean, you can tell him that he's a moron or whatever, or a commie, or no one will care, right? It's just your opinion. So that's a good thing, in my opinion, that you can speak your mind without getting arrested.
Okay. Another thing I would say is if you can convince them to open their minds a little bit about thinking out of the box and being a bit more speculative with their time they put into projects, there are an enormous amount of highly skilled, smart, technical people here. So programmers, engineers. I'm always amazed by the people I come across. A lot of those people are still in the country because many can work remotely, or can come and go. And so if you've got a software business or a engineering business or something like that, you want to move here, you'll be able to find good people. But I've got to say, like, being a bit of an entrepreneur and liking to speculate on things and try new ideas and try different businesses and things, I don't find people who are prepared to risk too much time and energy on something that's a start-up, unless they're getting paid. And you kind of defeat the point when you start paying your partners in a start-up, because they're not really incentivized then. So that the 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 skill set base here, and also now you've got a lot of people with Western knowledge returning here from the West because all the incentives that drove them to the West in the first place have moved here. Plus, it's their home country, so why wouldn't they?
Yeah. So basically, a lot of tech workers didn't left because even if you get a smaller salary here, is compared to the expenses that you have, it's more than enough. I mean, the difference, it's you can put aside here more money and live a lot better than you can anywhere else. So I compared at one point my salary. I had an offer to move in London, and I would have. And by the way, back then I had a salary of around I don't know 1,500 euros. So that a couple of years ago, you know. And for London, I would have needed to, for the same, to keep my living status, right? I mean, own 2 cars, a house, rent, not rent.
Standard of living
mortgage.
is the term you're looking
Yeah,
at.
yeah. I would have need like 10,000 pounds plus per month or something.
Yes.
So the difference was insane, you know.
Yeah, so what's nice is if you can get a 10 grand a month job working online and live here, then you're laughing.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, but the people do it. These really, really good programmers can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, can do
I
that.
know people who earn $600-700 a day programming.
Yeah.
They're not very happy though, from what I saw.
No, they're yeah, some of them just can't wait to get out of the corporations and stuff like that, you know.
Okay, my one. So you don't have a. This comes under the Woken Alphabet Mafia issues. You don't have a foreign invasion happening at the moment, like we do in the West, in the UK and the US, where insane levels of so-called refugees are coming to your country and living off your work, which is what's happening. You can call it what you like. I'll get called a racist. I'm bored with it now, being called a racist. People who worked for their pensions in England are now subsidising our own Coast Guard.
Ferrying them
when I
in,
think
yeah,
about
I know.
it, it's nuts. Coast Guard, the Royal National Lifeboat Institute, which is a famous British institution, acting like taxi services, bringing these fighting age young men from France to our shores. It's like amassing army. In fact, I think that's exactly what it's going to be used for. I think they're going to, like, if things carry on the trend they're going, these people are going to be put in the secret police, and they're going to be armed, and they're going to be keeping the locals in order. People will call me a Nazi, fascist, whatever, blah blah blah. But that's what it looks like. And if you talk to people in Romania who know how the communists took power here, and you explain that situation to them, that's exactly what they'll say it is, because they know how it works. But I talk to my own relatives and they laugh at me and call me a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, well,
So
I had a point related to
Yeah.
this one. So in Romania we have really low commie levels because we've been through that crap, socialism, and although the Romanian state has a big welfare part of it, right? But most people would never go back to communism, right? When your property was confiscated, everything was state-owned, and you would receive your quota of food or whatever. So yeah, that won't happen in Romania anytime soon.
talking of that, because we're on 30 minutes now, now's a good time to wrap it up. I haven't got, unless you've got any ones you really wanted to cover.
Yeah.
I think we covered a lot of good stuff, right? What I want to do, maybe people will comment about this, is I'm thinking either a small documentary or upcoming episodes of the podcast. While they're still alive, I'd like to start finding people who were around when the communists took over to relay those stories of exactly what was done and how it was done. Because I was quite surprised to find out that in many cases, it's not like they just come and physically robbed you and beat you up and took your property. They coerced you by threatening your family into signing over your property legally. I didn't realise that's how it was done. I thought it was much more, because they wanted to keep all the infrastructure, like the land registry and all that stuff, in order. So they didn't just come and take stuff. They just harassed the fuck out of anybody they wanted to steal the property from.
Yeah. So basically,
and I think those stories are. I think those stories are really important to get out there, because people will be able to see parallels between how that was done and what's going on in the West, because they don't realise what's coming or what they're trying to do. It's really sad to watch it.
The thing is that, for example, in Romania, it was the longest anti-communist movement fight in any other country. So the last fighters were killed in the 60s, 70s, basically, after 1960. Yeah, what they did was, well, among beating you and torturing you, right, even if you don't care for yourself, but they did that to your kids, to your wife. They've put your kids in prison and stuff like that. So yeah, because even if you can take it, when it's about your kid, you will cave in, you know. So that's the thing. Yeah, it's
lovely, nice communists.
Really, yeah. Well, that's socialism, you know.
Yes, I know. People don't understand that socialism is just the start of the communism. Socialism is just the first step, and anything that takes you towards more socialism is a move down this path. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, that's the end of the first proper episode of the Right to Bear Farms podcast, and we'll be back soon.
Yes, but I have so many other reasons. How do we do it? Those ones.
What's that? Oh, what?
Reasons to move here, yeah.
Ah, yeah, me too. Well, I think that was a pretty good list. Anyway, cool. See ya. Bye for now.
Bye.